and welcome to Weathersfield Proctor Library Storytime. I'm Glenna Coleman, Youth Services Librarian, and here is our library bear. He has been feeling exceptionally lonely lately. It has been a long time since anyone except me has been here to talk to him. And so he requested stories today about friends. And so we have 3 stories about different kinds of friends and friendship. Our first story for today is called 3 by the Sea, and this is by Mimi Gray. Now, if you look through that porthole of the ship, you can see 3 friends, and they don't look like they would be likely friends. I mean, a dog, a cat, and a rat, or perhaps a mouse. Let's find out. Three by the Sea. On a pebbly stretch of shore, in a beach hut by the sea, there lived a black cat, a white dog, and a little gray mouse. Ah, it's a mouse. Okay. The dog tended the garden. Well, now that's a very interesting garden. Sorry, I'm having a little trouble with the pages here today. The cat took care of the housework. The mouse looked after the cooking, and they lived happily, or so they thought. One night, a stranger blew in to the shore and found his way to the beach hut by the sea. He invited himself in. He explained that if you felt strangely discontented or wondered if your life was missing a special something, then Winds of Change was the company for you. And of course, everything was absolutely free. The stranger announced that they were the lucky winners of a visit from the Winds of Change Trading Company, and it would be absolutely free. The stranger also explained that he needed to sleep in a proper bed with plenty of pillows and eiderdowns. There was only one bed. This stranger seems awfully suspicious to me. The next day, after breakfast, the stranger took Mouse aside and said, "You know, Mouse, I don't mean to be rude about Dog, but his idea of gardening is a bit odd. He only plants bones. Who wants a bone garden? Where are the flowers? Where are the vegetables? Where are the herbs?" The stranger gave Mouse some things to read from his suitcase. Cooking with Herbs, Food Travel, Top Chef, Could It Be You, Cheese Weekly. After lunch, the stranger said to Dog, "Dog, while you've been busy digging in the garden, Cat has been doing the housework. Come and look at Cat doing the housework." Said Dog. "Well, we didn't sleep very well last night." But he felt a little upset. The stranger gave Dog a present, too. Oh, a collar that says Dog, and it looks like pictures of dogs with collars. And it says, a true dog wears his collar with pride. Around supper time, the stranger found Cat alone and said, "You know, Cat, I've never been that keen on fondue myself, but I suppose that mice never get tired of cheese. Do you have fondue every night?" "Pretty much," said Cat. Cat also got some gifts from the stranger. Oh, look at that. He got tins of sardines. At dinner, everyone was very quiet until, "A spot more fondue, anyone?" asked Mouse. And, "Why do we always have to have fondue?" "Well, you do the cooking, then, if you don't like it." "Maybe I will." "Well, maybe you won't fall asleep while you're doing it." "What do you mean? I saw you doing your so-called cleaning." "That's not fair, dog. What about the garden? When did we say that we wanted a bone garden? Your cooking is horrible. Your housework is rubbish. Your garden's a mess." Oh my goodness, such arguing. That night, while Cat and Dog were trying to sleep, Mouse was packing his things, planning to travel to somewhere where his cooking was appreciated. There he is, with his little bundle on a spoon. At about midnight, the cat woke with a lurch and a sinking feeling that something was wrong. She walked along the seafront. On the pebbles was a bundle of things, the sort of things that belonged to Mouse. Through the roar of the sea, her keen ears heard a desperate, far away squeak. Oh my goodness. Cat couldn't swim, but she waded into the water anyway. She just had to rescue Mouse. Cat scooped up Mouse and put him on her head, but she was having trouble staying afloat. Then, from the watery darkness, a pale blob got nearer and nearer and nearer. Dog was a good swimmer, good enough for all three of them. Dog carried them all to safety on the shore. Back on the beach, they made sure that everyone was still alive and nobody was drowned. They all agreed it was probably time for the stranger to leave. But in the beach hut, there was not a shred of the stranger or his suitcase, except a note and these packets of seeds. "Called away on urgent business. Borrowed boat. Hope you don't mind. Here is a last free gift for you from the Winds of Change Company. Yours, A. Stranger, Esquire." Oh, herb seeds. Summer savory, dill, marjoram. All by the Winds of Change Seed Company. And now, if you happened to drop by the beach hut near the sea, you might notice that they were doing things a little differently. You might see Mouse and Dog cultivating their bone and herb garden, or you might see Cat and Mouse making cheese and sardine fondue with a twist of thyme and a bay leaf. If it was first thing in the morning, you'd most probably hear Cat and Dog humming a tune as they kept the hut cozy and clean. And you just might notice a scent of herbs in the sea air. And there's a stranger in their boat with his suitcase. Well, that was 3 by the Sea by Mimi Gray. I am so glad that those friends worked out their differences. That is for sure. Well, we have another book about friends. This is a very classic book called Frog and Toad Are Friends, and it's by Arnold Lobel. Or maybe it's Lobel. Frog and Toad are friends. Spring. Frog ran up the path to Toad's house. He knocked on the front door. There was no answer. "Toad! Toad!" shouted Frog. "Wake up! It is spring!" "Blah!" said a voice from inside the house. "Toad! Toad!" cried Frog. "The sun is shining. The snow is melting. Wake up! I am not here," said the voice. "Don't be silly," said Frog. "What you see is the clear, warm light of April, and it means that we can begin a whole new year together, Toad." "Think of it," said Frog. "We will skip through the meadows and run through the woods and swim in the river. In the evenings we will sit right here on this front porch and count the stars." "You can count them, Frog," said Toad. "I will be too tired. I am going back to bed." Toad went back into the house. He got into the bed and pulled the covers over his head again. "But Toad," cried Frog, "you will miss all the fun." "Listen, Frog," said Toad. "How long have I been asleep?" "You've been asleep since November," said Frog. "Well then," said Toad, "a little more sleep will not hurt me. Come back again and wake me up at about 1/2 May. Good night, Frog." It's May right now, isn't it? "But Toad," said Frog, "I will be lonely until then." Toad did not answer. He had fallen asleep. Frog looked at Toad's calendar. The November page was still on top. Frog tore off the November page. He tore off the December page. He tore and the January page and the February page and the March page. He came to the April page. Frog tore off the April page too. I wonder what he's doing. Then Frog ran back to Toad's bed. "Toad, Toad, wake up! It is May!" "Now, what?" said Toad. "Can it be May so soon?" "Yes," said Frog. "Look at your calendar." Toad looked at the calendar. The May page was on top. "Why, it is May," said Toad as he climbed out of bed. Then he and Frog ran outside to see how the world was looking in the spring. The story. One day in summer, Frog was not feeling well. Toad said, "Frog, you are looking quite green." "But I always look green," said Frog. "I am a frog." "Today you look very green, even for a frog," said Toad. "Get into my bed and rest." Toad made Frog a cup of hot tea. Frog drank the tea, and then he said, "Tell me a story while I'm resting." "All right," said Toad. "Let me think of a story to tell you." Toad thought and thought, but he could not think of a story to tell Frog. "I will go out on the front porch and walk up and down," said Toad. "Perhaps that will help me to think of a story." Toad walked up and down on the porch for a long time, but he could not think of a story to tell Frog. Then Toad went into the house and stood on his head. "Why are you standing on your head?" asked Frog. "I hope that if I stand on my head, it will help me think of a story," said Toad. Toad stood on his head for a long time, but he could not think of a story to tell Frog. Then Toad poured a glass of water over his head. "Why are you pouring water over your head?" asked Frog. "I hope that if I pour water over my head, it will help me to think of a story," said Toad. Toad poured many glasses of water over his head, but he could not think of a story to tell Frog. Then Toad began to bang his head against the wall. "Why are you banging your head against the wall?" asked Frog. "I hope that if I bang my head against the wall hard enough, it will help me to think of a story," said Toad. "I am feeling much better now, Toad," said Frog. "I do not think I need a story anymore." "Then you get out of bed and let me get into it," said Toad, "because now I feel terrible." Frog said, "Would you like me to tell you a story, Toad?" "Yes," said Toad, "if you know one." "Once upon a time," said Frog, "there were two good friends, a frog and a toad. The frog was not feeling well. He asked his friend the toad to tell him a story. The toad could not think of a story. He walked up and down on the porch, and he could not think of a story. He stood on his head, but he could not think of a story. He poured water over his head, but he could not think of a story. He banged his head against the wall, but he could not think of a story. Then the toad did not feel so well, and the frog was feeling better. So the toad went to bed, and the frog got up and told him a story. The end. How was that, Toad? Said Frog, but Toad did not answer. He had fallen asleep. Well, that was 2 stories from Frog and Toad Are Friends by Arnold Lobel. So those are 3 stories of friendships. Isn't it amazing what friends will do for each other? I can't believe Toad tried so hard to tell Frog a story, and Frog got Toad out of bed a month early by tricking him. Well, I hope you enjoyed these 3 stories of friendship, and maybe we'll finish the Frog and Toad book another time. Thank you for visiting us at the Weathersfield Proctor Library Storytime. Bear says hi too, and boy, he sure misses everybody, but I hope the stories of friendship have made him feel much better. And we will see you at our next story time. Bye!